Aren't I lucky? I've had a surprise delivery of Bloom and Wild flowers. Now, I don't want to put you off, but if you get a delivery like this, you're going to open the box and be really disappointed. The box isn't very deep, and just try and imagine how many flowers you know that are only this big. Hello there, I'm Julie from Julie Davis Flower Workshops and Flower Star, the online flower arranging classes. Of course, Bloom and Wild know you're going to be disappointed, and that's why you'll find when you open your box, there's a little sticker that says, "Shh, your flowers are sleeping." And here is that very sticker, "Shh, your flowers are sleeping." There's a guide inside to waking them up. Watch on to the end of the video as I show you what my flowers look like in a couple of days, once they've had a chance to rest and relax in a vase of fresh water. So I've got a greetings card here. My sister has sent me a surprise gift of flowers. Here's a handy guide here. What's on my tulips? We send our tulips out with their bulbs. So normally you'd have the tulips as a cut flower, but it sounds like they've got the bulbs attached. That way they're stronger. The bulbs nourish your bulbs as they travel. They arrive nice and perky. They last longer and you can grow more tulips. And a little book here, your flower arranging guide. Meet your flowers, the focal flowers, the base stems. First things to do, choose the perfect vase, trim your stems, prune away some leaves, and then get arranging like a pro. And then on with the show. And this is what you get in your box of flowers. So here are the tulips, and they are really stiff and straight. I'm a little bit surprised about this, to be honest, not through any issue with Bloom and Wild, but these flowers actually got delivered to me yesterday morning. So I'm here nearly 24 hours later, only about to put them in fresh water for the first time. Now, what I would say is do what I say and don't do what I do. You really need to be putting your flowers in water as soon as you get them, but it just goes to show that if you don't, the flowers are obviously very good quality and are going to perk up. So I have my tulips in my bulbs. And a similar thing with the hyacinths. So these are going to be lovely and fragrant, but they've been cored out of the bulb as well. There's some freesia in here. Being careful to waggle them out of the box. So they are very flat and tight in bloom. And then right at the bottom, I've got pistache greenery, which you might recognise from supermarket bouquets. And Michaelmas daisy, which is looking slightly the worse for wear. The stems feel nice and secure, but the flower heads are just looking a tiny bit shriveled, but hopefully they will open out once they've had a really good drink of water. So my box has got 5 stems of the tulips still on their bulbs, 3 stems of the hyacinth with their bulbs cored out, 1 stem of the pistache greenery, 3 stems of the Michaelmas daisy, and 5 stems of freesia. What I've got here is a clean vase, so I always clean my vases after my flowers have died from the time before, so I know that next time I get flowers, this vase will be ready to go. I've already filled it about just under half full, and the package of flowers came with some flower food, so I'm going to put one to one side for later in the week. Put the flower food into the water and then start to recut the stems. So at the moment I'm just going to recut the stems and let them relax in the water, and I'm going to take off quite a generous amount, a couple of centimetres, cutting my stems at an angle. Taking off this stray bit of leaf, don't want that in the water. So I'm not arranging them, I'm just getting them in the water as a sort of emergency first aid, just so they can rejuvenate. So with my Michaelmas daisies here, I'm going to pull off any stems that are going to be inside the vase, and to speed things up, hold them in my hand and cut through them in turn. The woody stem of the pistache will be slightly harder to cut with my scissors. I'm tempted to get rid of these 2 side pieces. I I could always put those in a jam jar for later. And then with my really sharp floristry scissors, recut the stem again at an angle. And then with my hyacinths, I'm going to shave a little bit off that bulb at the bottom. And these are going to get hidden in this vase. They're too short really for the rest of the flowers. So when I come to arrange these in a few hours time, I need to get a vase that will take my short flowers and my tall flowers. And then I'm just going to double check what it says about my tulips. Trim the stems at an angle about 1 to 2 centimetres above the bulb. Pop the flowers in your vase and set the bulbs to one side. I feel quite nervous about doing this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's stage 1 complete. This is by no means a flower arrangement. It is just a way of getting my flowers to rest and relax after they've been dry in that box from when they were packed up and dispatched out to me. So I'm going to leave them here for a few hours and I'm going to come back and let you know how they're getting on. It's now 6 hours later and just look at the way the flowers have come back to life. The freesia just looks perfect now, and I was just worried to begin with that this flower head was not going to be able to recover, but it's come up and it's really plump and lovely. And the same with the Michaelmas daisies. These looked as if they were practically on their last legs. And just by recutting the stems, putting them in the vase and just letting them sit and relax, they have fully rehydrated and are looking absolutely fabulous. So my next job is to get on with my flower arranging. Before I do that, I wanted to show you the little booklet that came with the flowers, Your Flower Arranging Guide. And I was reading this morning when I had my cup of tea after I finished filming, and it's got some really great advice in. This is something I share in my flower classes about cutting your flowers to different lengths in your vases so all the flower heads don't appear on one level across your vase. And it's suggesting here you trim off 3 to 5 centimetres off your tallest flower, 5 to 10 centimetres off your middle group and 10 to 12 centimetres off your shortest group. And it even here has a little measure scale, so if you're not sure, you can cut off the precise amount. So what I've done now is to fill my vase with water. Originally I only had a small amount, but I've gone right up high now because I know that my hyacinths are shorter than all of my other flowers. So I need to be able to get them to be in water, but also have them poking out of the vase far enough so you can see them. So what I'm going to do is to separate my flowers out into their little piles again so I can see what I'm working with and then start my arrangement. So what I like to do is to get something bushy into my vase to begin with. So if you've got some greenery or you've got a flower that is a sort of spray variety, so there's lots of heads on a single stem, that's a really good place to start. And what I'm going to do here, because I've now lifted my water up, I'm going to find that if I put this stem into the vase, these little leaves on the side are going to fall into the water and they'll then rot off, and that will shorten the life of my flowers. So you can pull these off or clip them off with your scissors. And then recut the stems again. So that single stem is going to plop down into the vase and just going to fall where it naturally wants to settle. So whereas my lovely Michaelmas daisies have really plumped up, some of the leaves are a little bit worse for wear, and as I want everything to look really, really good, I'm just going to pull off the ones that have started to discolour a little bit. Doing it really gently so I don't damage the rest of the flower. And I've got a little flower bloom there that looks like it's just about to fall off, so I can cut that off. And then recut the stems again. I'm going to keep these ones quite long and put them in and sort of create a triangle effect, a teepee effect around the edge of that central stem. So I've got one of that stem of the greenery right in the middle, and then one stem of each of the 3 pieces of Michaelmas daisy out to the sides. It's almost like I've created a triangle with a flower stem in the middle. And what I'm looking at here is to create an arrangement for me that is front facing. I'm not going to do it so it looks lovely all the way around, because I know that I'm going to have this sitting up against a wall. So there's no point in putting your lovely flowers at the back when you're not going to be able to see them. So next in is going to be my tulips. So again, I'm just going to trim off a tiny bit off the end of the stems just to make sure the water can get up into them. And having a look, so these flowers the tulips will grow a little bit and they will start to move towards the light. So that's the lovely thing about flower arranging. You may have the perfect arrangement and then you'll come down and look at it a few hours later and it will have moved if you've got tulips in it. So I'm distributing those evenly around the edge of the vase. And where the tulips have got a slight curve on them, I'm getting those to curve out over the front of the vase. And that just gives a really good sort of three-dimensional quality to your flower arrangements. So it's not totally flat at the back, but it has definitely got a more of a bulbous look at the front. I'm going to add in the gorgeous scented blue hyacinths next. So again, just trimming off a little bit of the base. I'm going to keep the leaves on, but if they bother you, you can take those off. And if I find they're getting in the way in the next few days, I can just pull the leaves out. As you cut away from the bulb, they do fall away, the leaves, very easily. It's starting to fill out, so this will totally change over the next couple of days because the hyacinths, all those little bell-shaped flowers, will open out and they'll become much more prominent and dominant within your flower arrangement. And then I'm going to use the last flower, which is my freesia, and just dot them about wherever I think they should go. And as I do that, I'm just making sure that the vase comes back to me where I'm imagining the front is going to sit. So my front piece is where that huge hyacinth is. You just need to keep a check on that because you may find you're thinking you're making a front facing arrangement and then you discover that everything's twisted round a little bit. So. And getting the freesia to splay out as well. They've just got a soft arching quality. I'm going to make the most of those. And as you get more and more stems in your vase, you'll just need to be gentle, make sure your stems are actually getting down to the water, and you may need to corkscrew them down a bit, but just be really gentle doing that. You don't want to be snapping any of your stems and damaging your flowers. And anything that's fallen down too low, you just lift it up. Always put your finger into the vase just to make sure those stem ends are actually in water. If you find things are dying off, it's probably because they haven't actually been sitting in the water. This is my finished arrangements. At the moment, everything looks quite spindly and not very dramatic, but just give it a few days in the warmth of my living room. Those blue hyacinths will burst into bud and the tulips will just start to open up a little bit too. And at the moment, you can hardly see these freesia, but it'll only take a few days and they'll really start to burst open and fill up all those gaps in the vase. And just take a look. Here are my flowers 3 days later. So the freesia have started to open out and you can tell that there's a mauve variety and a pink variety. The tulips are looking so good, they feel really firm on their stems still, and the hyacinths have opened out and they really remind me of English bluebells. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you're thinking of buying a box of blooming wildflowers, they certainly get the thumbs up from me. Don't forget to like the video, leave me a comment and let me know what your favourite spring flowers are, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, ring the notification bell, and then you'll always know when I upload a new video. That's all from me for now, and I'll see you again next time.